Good morning. Good morning. How is the weather where you are? It's a little cold here this morning, and I live in Georgia, for those that don't know, and it's been warm. We've even had thunderstorms. It has been warm, unseasonably warm. And this morning, I went to take the dog for a walk, and it was once again 22 degrees. No, 27 degrees. I'm sorry. I lied to you for a second there. But as you get here, make sure that you say hello and let me know that you're here. Let me hit live in all the places. But I'd love to know, um, are you having traditional or normal temperatures for your area, or is it warmer? I don't know. It seems like it's here, it's going from one to the other constantly. So it may be where you are as well. All right, give me a second while I pull this up on my phone so I can see. All right. Thunderstorms. It is. All right, and one more thing. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, something's going on over here. Maybe I need to move my mouse out of the way. All right. So, like I said, how is the weather where you are, and how are you this morning? Because it's a gorgeous day. I will say, when I was walking the dog, it was quite cold, and I was dressed appropriately, thank goodness, so it wasn't that uncomfortable. And it seemed like there was so much activity and the different birds. I could hear a hawk over in the tree, and then, there's the squirrels running around, the little chipmunks. It was like they were just constantly darting across the street and all kinds of things. So it was like, wow, nature is awake. All right. So let me grab today's affirmation to share with you. And as always, it comes from, oh, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, hold on a second. Okay. Give me another second. I hit the wrong button. Now I got to copy and paste it. Boop, boop. But this morning I was I can only do one thing at a time. So hold on just a second, or I'll end up doing the wrong button again. So this morning, as I was walking and I was noticing all of nature doing its stuff, everything was wide awake, and there was just this energy in the air. And then, you know how it is, when you well, I'm assuming it's for you as well. But when I have this idea and these thoughts that are going on in my head as I'm walking, and when I get back home and I'm getting ready, I listen to something on YouTube, or there's a new book, or there's something that I'll listen to, and it always seems that exactly what I start listening to is a reflection of the thoughts that I was thinking earlier. It's amazing how that works, right? And so the first thing I'm listening to on YouTube is about the energy of our bodies and the energy of nature and the world, right? And so that's where all of this came from, because it's important for us to even recognize the field of energy that we each have, right? All right, so here we go. Our affirmation for today is: my body is pure energy, and today I flip the switch to allow positivity, abundance, and joy to flow freely into my life. And it was I don't even remember what the person said, but they were talking about how scientifically, we have this energy about us, and it's been studied and all these different things. And I thought, well, everybody knows that our body is energy. But then I thought, well, maybe not everybody does. Maybe not everybody understands. It's like we've got a switch that we flip on about which way we want the energy to go. And the interesting thing is that when we pass away, that energy of our body doesn't just disappear. It's still there in some ways. And so our energy lives on beyond us. Our energy it affects everything. So like if you ever gone into a room full of people, and you just feel there's certain people that you gravitate to, it's that their field of energy and your field of energy are compatible. And that's why you gravitate to them. And that's why when somebody walks up to you that you don't know and they step a little bit too close, you know how we talk about our personal space? It's because it's like this force field around us. And when somebody steps through it and hasn't been invited, or you don't know them well, it's like a slap almost, because it is counter to what you are. And especially if there's someone that you meet for the first time, and you just know right away that there's something about them that you just don't feel comfortable with. You just don't like them for whatever reason. And it's usually that they have an energy that is just very different from what yours is, and it's hard for you to commingle, right? So it's some powerful stuff to just even be aware of our energy, right? And so one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is, like I just said, is our energy is all around us. But energy is also our thoughts. Our thoughts create energy. And so where energy flows, attention goes. And so when we focus, like with this affirmation, when we focus on the positivity, the gratitude, abundance, we naturally attract more of it into our lives. So I'd like to ask you, what are you going to focus on today? And just by taking this affirmation and journal prompt and utilizing it, thinking about it, it's going to create more flow of positivity, gratitude, and abundance naturally in your day, right? Unless you're sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe that. And that doesn't work. And those things, if you're thinking those things, then those are the kinds of things that are going to flow to you in your day. Things that you can't believe in, things that just seem too good to be true and it's not. There'll be proof of that everywhere you go. So you get to choose. What do you want to focus on today? And then we're flipping the switch, because that's a choice. Just like turning on the light, like I said a moment ago, we can choose to release negativity and invite positive energy at any given moment. So when you're doing something and all of a sudden you realize that you're going down the rabbit hole of despair, or the rabbit hole of why me, or how could this happen to me, and that person's this, and you can just all of a sudden you catch yourself, oh my gosh, I am just filled with negative energy about this person, about this thing. That's when, as soon as you recognize that, that's when you stop and you say, okay, I can think better thoughts. And then you flip the switch, and then you invite the positive energy. Like yesterday, we talked about how you're so much of the things that happen to us, the opportunities show up a lot of times as obstacles. And so maybe what's going on is that there's a little obstacle, a growth spot that's popping into your world. And that's when you can stop and say, okay, let me see, how can I grow from this? What does this teach me? How is there a lesson in this that I can be better? And so then you're flipping the switch. You've made a choice to look at things in a more positive light, that everything that happens, and even the really, really, really bad stuff that happens, because it does, there's a lesson in there somewhere. And the point is to start focusing on your growth, your mindset shift. What is one simple way you can shift your mindset right now, in that moment that it happens, that this obstacle appears, this challenge? Reframe it. How can you, in that moment, shift your mindset. And to me, it's suddenly things show up and it's like, okay, I'm growing, I'm growing. This is perfect. I'm growing. And then you see what is it that you can gain from whatever's happening, right? And our bodies are powerful energy centers. So, how can you get the energy flowing more, right? Because we want to, it's almost like we can do things to expand our energy out. So, some of the ways that we can do that is move your body. Doing movement, whether that's exercise, whether that's dance, whatever it is, a movement that feels good. Like Christine and I have the Get Your Sexy Back program that just started. And if you're interested in it, just put sexy in the comments and I'll make sure that you get the information because we've still got a few spots open that people can take now. The thing is that we're doing movement that is fun, but it supports your body in all the different movements that you need as you're getting older, because our focus is to help you not only to transform your body and your weight and your mindset, but we want to transform your body so that no matter what age you are working toward having an amazing mobility and amazing body as you get older. And it's a beautiful thing. Christine is great with these exercises and it's just amazing. So there's a lot of wonderful things happening in there. So definitely put sexy in the comments if you want to get your sexy back, and I'll send you all the info. So there's the movement. And then there's also breath work. And so I'm looking to see a person that I'm talking to, a person that does a lot of breath work, and I'm going to see if they can come in and do some breath work with everyone. And even a positive thought can actually change how we feel and what we attract. Even a positive thought can change how we feel and what we attract. Amazing, right? Because it does change the energy that's going all around you. So if you put your hands out as far out as they'll go, that is your personal space. But if you're really working with your energy and you're staying true to who you are, that energy goes out further. And so for one of the things that helps me to understand that even more is there was a study done where these Tibetan monks actually wanted to meditate and affect the environment of the area that they were in. There was a lot of crime and things that were happening. And so these monks all together did a meditation to change the frequency, to change the energy of the area so that the crime rate would go down. And they did studies with this. And actually, these monks doing that were able to reduce the crime rate. And I can't remember if it's 30% or what it was, but that's significant, right? For all they were doing was group meditations and focused on their area. And they actually affected the entire area. So when you think about that, you do the same thing. That's why sometimes you can go into a room and people seem a little bit sad, but if you're really vibrationally, you're in a good place, you can see there's a shift in the air, in the people. Now, it can go the reverse too. If people are kind of happy and you walk into a room and you're feeling really down and you're, not happy and you're angry, whatever it is, it can affect the entire vibration of the room. So I shared a video few months back. So it was about laughter and how laughter changes your vibration. And there was a person that got on the subway, and everybody was on their phone. If they weren't on their phone, they were just kind of, it was like nobody was happy. It was like nobody was talking. It was just quiet, right? And you could tell that some people, when you looked at them, it seemed like, well, they are on their way to their job and they hate it. It was a lot of that kind of look and feel about it. And this one person, he starts, like he's looking on his phone and he starts laughing. And as he gets more into the laughter, one by one, these people start laughing. And by the time he got off the train, the whole train was laughing. They were talking, they were connecting. The whole train changed from that one person starting the laughter. So you can actually change not only your switch, but you can actually affect other people's switch and have the positivity, the abundance, and the joy to flow freely around you and actually touch the others around you. Some powerful stuff, right? All right, so let me go ahead and grab hold on. I think that'll all show in one thing. Let's make sure. Okay, perfect. All right, so here is today's journal prompt. What negative energy or thoughts can I release today? So what is something that's been going on for you? And maybe it's something from a long time ago, and maybe it's something that's happened recently, or maybe it's something that's happening in the world that really grates your nerves, right? All of those things create negative energy in you. And like, for instance, I have a client who is the most anxious person I know, to be honest with you. And the thing that she does constantly is watches the news. And I ask her, why do you watch the news? And she said, well, I need to know what's going on. And I said, okay. I said, I understand that. And nobody wants to have their head in the sand and not know what's going on in the world. I said, but let me ask you, I said, whatever they're talking about and they're sharing on the news, does it personally affect you? She said, most of the time, no. I said, is it anything that you can change? Most of the time, no. I said, okay, so if you cannot change it and it definitely doesn't affect you, then your need to know is just an addiction to anxiety. And it's time for you to step away from watching the news. I said, get a little app that has like a recap of some of the stuff. It's just a little short recap that you can read and see what pertains to you, and then you can move on. But the thing is that was with her was that she was so addicted to this anxiety and this need to know that she wouldn't do it. And she is still the most anxious person I know. But no matter what I say, she says in the moment, well, you're probably right. You don't watch the news, do you? And I said, no, I get a recap from others. I get a recap on Facebook. I get a recap. I have one that comes in my email. And sometimes I don't even look at it. But people always tell me, right? I'm not oblivious, but I want a peaceful life. And I learned a long time ago that just because it's on the news doesn't make it true. I had a friend that her husband went through a really big ordeal, and I knew the ins and outs of what all was happening. But when it was on the news, it was very different. It was not true. I would say maybe 10% of what they said was true. The rest of it was all fabricated to make headlines. And then, I had a client that that worked at the news station, and she asked me if I knew anyone who had a really good story for Christmas. an uplifting story? And I said, I think so. I said, I just had a client that had this thing happen where her husband was gifted a vehicle from his school just so that they would have more transportation. And so I connected them. And did it ever air? No. She went and interviewed the couple. She talked to them about it. They met the kids. They did this really amazing segment. But when it came down to it, the producer, whatever it is that makes those decisions, said that it wasn't controversial enough and their ratings were a little bit down and they needed controversy to bring the ratings up. So they buried it. And so there are a lot of things that happen that they could talk about that is more uplifting. But let's face it, it's not what gets most of the ratings because people like it, but do they stare at it and hold on to it and talk about it? Not usually. It's like when you're driving down the road, what happens when you notice that the traffic's really bad? Most of the time, there's an accident or there's something and everybody's slowing down to get the best view. And that's what happens on the news too. The more horrific it is, the more people pay attention. So why not step away from that negativity if you can? So what negative energy or thoughts can you release today? You can release being addicted to the news if that's who you are. There are ways to get in touch with it and understand what's going on without being inundated with the full thing, without seeing the horrible pictures, without all of that, right? So what's another way that maybe you can release some negative energy or thoughts? So some of it is just recognizing when they happen, right? Like I said a few moments ago, when you are going about your day and suddenly you realize you got this negativity going on in you, or you start feeling a little bit bad and it's like, I don't know why, I just don't feel so good. Feels like something's wrong. I know I've had that happen. And what I usually is that my mind has been going down a little rabbit hole of something that I've heard or something I've experienced. I'm remembering something from a long time ago. So as soon as you notice that that's happening, you stop it in its tracks. And you say, okay, I today choose to focus on positive energy, right? And I release this negativity that I'm feeling right now. And maybe you've been doing it for so long that it's not easy to do that. It's like you can't just flip the switch, but look at it as a dimmer switch, one that you slide down, right? So it's not like you just flipping it off, because sometimes it's gotten so much momentum. We've been doing it for so long that it feels almost impossible to immediately turn it off. So look at it as sliding the dimmer switch down. How can I think better thoughts? And then how can I think better thoughts? How can I think better thoughts? And you just keep flowing with it. And over time, you'll get to where you will catch it quicker and be able to switch it immediately to a different thought frequency. I'm checking the windows here to make sure. Don't want to be leaving anybody out. And remember, thank you for being here live. And if you would, say hello and join in the conversation. But if you feel more comfortable being in the background, that's okay too. I'm glad to have you here. And I just had a sip of my tea. I think I want another sip. That's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go back to our affirmation. My body is pure energy, and today I flip the switch to allow positivity, abundance, and joy to flow freely into my life. Now, like I said a moment ago, if things are way out of whack and the energy is really dark, and maybe you've been stressed over something for quite a while, It's not going to be that easy to just flip the switch, right? So maybe it is my body is pure energy, and today I begin to lower the switch to allow positivity, abundance, and joy to flow freely into my life, because I want it to be something that you can believe. Because if it's something that every time you say it, your subconscious mind says bullshit, then it's not going to do what you want it to do. It is rephrasing it in a way that feels good, but it's also a stretch too. Feels good, and it's also a stretch, because one of the things that we know is that a 1% change every day creates exponential growth. So you don't have to do it all in one sitting, right? Just change 1%. And then if you do that every single day, you're going to grow like you would not believe. And it's like, just by doing this and watching this and listening and reading this, writing this down, that changes who you are. Because who you were 1 second ago is different from who you are now. Just because your thoughts are moving in a different direction, it changes you. So now your new normal is very different. And so that's why I ask you to use your notebook or your journal to be able to log what you're doing here, so that when you look back, you can see, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize the changes I made. Because when we're doing this in the slow 1%, it becomes your new normal, your new normal, your new normal. So it all feels like it's nothing, but it's changing. And that's why when you look back and you can say, oh my gosh, the things I was dealing with on February, what the hell is today's date? February 14th? Yes. February 14th? That's right. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I had completely forgotten. So you will be shocked when you go later on and you look back to February 14th, 2025, and you see some of the things that you were dealing with, that you were working to change, and how you went so beyond that. But you won't even realize that if you don't have something to look back at. So our affirmation for today: my body is pure energy, and today I flip the switch. Hello, Ellen. Happy Valentine's Day. Good morning. Good morning. Good to have you here. My body is pure energy, and today I flip the switch to allow positivity, abundance, and joy to flow freely into my life. Oof, that feels good, to flow free into my life. And that implies it's not hard, right? That implies it's flowing. That energy is flowing, an in and an out, a yin and a yang. It just feels good, right? Flow freely into my life. You just allow it. So put that on your index card, the screensaver on your phone, your sticky notes, put it on the mirror with a chalk marker, put it somewhere where you'll see it today. And then let's go back to the journal prompt. What negative energy or thought can I release today? What actions or mindset shifts will help me invite more positive energy and flow into my life? And we've just talked about quite a few of them, right? So this is some powerful stuff. And what I advise you, or I recommend for every day, it's to take 10 to 15 minutes in silence. After you've written this down, you've said it to yourself. You don't have to keep repeating it. Your subconscious mind knows what it is. In 10 to 15 minutes of silence, you will dig into your inner guidance, your God voice. Good morning, Angie. Good morning. Listening but driving. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. And the thing is that, your silence helps you to really connect, so that you can answer these questions with a much more thorough knowing of what the answers are. So And in silence doesn't mean that your mind is completely blank. For heaven's sakes, that doesn't happen to anybody. I would be really surprised if the Tibetan monks are completely silent. I mean, they may not have the chatter that we do, but I mean, humans have thoughts all the time, right? I could be wrong, but I mean, as far as the Tibetan monks, I don't know one personally, so I couldn't say. But the thing is that we are not Tibetan monks anyway. So we are general people, most of us, right? And so we may not have this stronghold on what our conscious mind is talking about. Now, I can say as you play with this and you work with this over time, you get to where you can affect it so much more. But in the beginning, especially, you sit in silence and your mind all of a sudden is going to be on everything you need to be doing instead. Something that happened last year, 10 years ago, it can start going into all kinds of places. And all you have to do is come back and listen to your breath and just, you can count your breaths, breathe one, breathe in, breathe out, whatever you need to do. But you'll notice as you're doing that, suddenly you'll realize that you're not doing that anymore and your mind is on the chatter thing again. Perfectly normal. You just come back to your breath. And sometimes I will say there have been times that my chatter was so strong that that breath didn't even do it. So I would actually focus on sounds of things in my space, whether it was in the room with me, down the hall, outside. There's the leaf blower. I hear the leaf blower. I hear a ceiling fan. I hear my chimes down the hall. So whatever you need to do to bring yourself into the now. And the whole time that you're doing this, sometimes it feels like a battle within you, but the whole time you're doing that, your subconscious mind, your God voice, your inner guidance is mulling over this journal prompt and this affirmation. You don't have to do a thing. It knows it. It's there, right? And then when your timer goes off after 10 or 15 minutes, then you take out your journal, your notebook, and you just write out what shows up. And no matter what shows up, because it can seem like, well, that's not really a negative energy. Why am I writing that down? Just write it down anyway. It is your ability to get it out onto the page. Write down as much as you can. What negative energy or thoughts can I release today? What's been nigging and niggling at your mind? What were some of those thoughts you were thinking when you were trying to quiet your mind? What is something that you were thinking about earlier today that maybe wasn't quite so positive? Whatever it is, just write it down. No judgment. And then once you've written as much as possible, you've just brain dumped everything that you could. What actions or mindset shifts will help me invite more positive energy and flow into my life? How can I look at all of those thoughts that I just wrote down and be more positive about it? How can I change it so that more positive energy flows into my life? And it'll flow like a river flows, like a faucet flows. It can flow if we allow it to. Remember, our body is pure energy, and we're flipping the switch to allow positivity, abundance, and joy to flow freely into our life. Well, that's what we do as we start looking at these negative thoughts, these negative energies that we've had in our lives, in our thoughts, and we reframe them. We start seeing them as the catalyst to get us to a better place, the guidance system to send us on a new journey, the wake-up call to, wait a minute, I should pay attention to this. So, flip the switch, embrace the flow, and let positivity lead the way, because you've got this. This is how the 1% change begins. Start now. The best day to make a change for the better is right now. The best time right now. So you've got this. You have the power. You've had it all along, my dear. Click your heels with your ruby slippers, and there you go, right? All right. So it is time for me to pop off here and start my day. Well, I've already started it with you guys, right? To work on the rest of my day. And I will be going in and sharing the affirmation and the journal prompt in the description. And I would love to hear your thoughts. The thing is that if you're on YouTube and you're watching and listening, thank you, Angie, for being here. Make sure that you have subscribed, you've liked, and you share. I would love to have more people that come in on YouTube as well. And then if you're in the group and the Stand Up and Stand Out community, please respond into the comments. Let people know that you've been here. And then on Instagram, if you want to join either the my YouTube channel, which is Vicki Poole, go ahead and do that. Or if you want to join the Stand Up and Stand Out community, you go to vickipoole.com and you'll be prompted to answer some questions, and then you can join that as well. But I have loved being here with you this morning. And like I said, flip the switch, embrace the flow, and let positivity lead the way. You've got this. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern.